Call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. So we're going to be looking for approval of the April and May meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Somebody second. Very good. Okay. I'm going to rearrange the order of the two chairperson. Oh, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Just want to rearrange the chairperson's report. Going to welcome our new member, Bryn Lovejoy Grinnell. She's an attorney, consumer advocate, and I was going to say you spent time on the Commons Council, but you served on the Commons Council briefly. So we're going to welcome her for her first meeting. Okay. Welcome. So we're going to recap the budget meeting that was held on April 12th. There are a couple items. Renette made the case for a couple items, getting case management software, which was going to provide an interface for the community to monitor the cases and make it easier for the board to review and monitor cases. We were also asking for additional staff, a policy an analyst, another community engagement specialist, and a full-time investigator. We had a discussion on security and private security. And Renette restated that most important item, that it's standard practice that other review boards and other communities, comparable communities across the country, receive 1% of the local police budget, and we feel like we should too. There was also, Lori brought up that about the body-worn camera, that we have inferior viewing capabilities in the SPD, and we were kind of hoping that we could rectify that. The result of all that was that we got $65,000 to cover an investigator and software, which kind of isn't going to cut it. But Renette can talk about what we probably need to do in the future to make a better case for, like, reclassifying. No? Okay. What? No? Okay. So you're not going to do that? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Because you understand.
Yeah. So there was a need to put emphasis on our need to have a full-time investigator. And what we were able to get was $50,000 toward an investigator and $15,000 for a software. The need for the investigator is, again, because we have more volunteers than we do office staff. It is necessary at times for the office staff to accompany each other to make sure that the community engagement event goes off well, things of that nature. So when we focus on community engagement or I focus on report writing, then investigations don't get done when I'm the primary investigator. So this $50,000 is not the same thing as Virgil's contract investigator position. It is for a investigator to be hired in order to receive that type of pay. So it's not going to be a position that has benefits or anything of that nature, but they will, you know what I mean? We have $50,000 allotted to assist with investigations, which is different than Virgil. So in our new office space, we will have a desk for an investigator to come in and sit in the office and be able to do investigations. We will have a conference room right in our same area for which they can utilize to do interviews and things of that nature if people need to come in. We purchased recently audio recording devices so that we can utilize those recording devices when interviewing complainants, because we had made a request several years ago prior to Chief Buckner that the interviews of officers were not being recorded. And so Chief Buckner made it so that the officers are now being recorded, but the question is, if we're requesting that of them, then they're kind of requesting that of us, which I can definitely understand that. So now we have the ability, and so we will utilize those recordings, and then you can hear the audio. At times I had been using my cell phone to record those conversations and then dropping it into particular cases, just kind of depending. But then, you know, again, now I'm having to make sure I delete that and all of that kind of stuff. So this is just another way. We are looking to try to get some audio capability, visual capabilities as well. So when complainants come in, that they're able to be recorded visually and also audio. The police department is looking, they're getting new software, and we may be able to get their old software, but it just all depends. But all of this is just to make sure that, you know, that everybody gets to hear what everybody's asking and what they're saying, because as we know, many times during a investigation, the complainant may write something down, you talk to them about it, and they add additional information than what was in the complaint. They either add it or miss it. And so, you know, you're trying to figure out, you know, which one is correct, their auditory or the written, you know, assessment of the event, or is it a combination of both, based upon how long it's taking us to interview them, as it relates to the case. So we're trying to figure out the best way to handle that. But the $50,000, I just want to make sure we understand that that is not the same thing as what we're paying Virgil out of. Virgil is still has his $25,000 in the budget, and this is an additional.
Can I ask a question? With that $50,000, is it the intent to actually hire someone, or is it to pay people periodically to do that?
So I mean, you could hire somebody with the amount, but they wouldn't get benefits. So you could hire them on a part-time basis and have them earn part-time, you get salary up to $50,000.
Is there a city title for investigator, or would that be something that we would have to?
That would be something that I need to create.
Okay.
Like we did the other positions.
Okay.
And I would share my job summary like I do every time we draft a position, and then have it out there.
Okay.
For somebody to do that. $50,000 on a part-time basis may be a lot, you know what I mean, for somebody to get on a part-time basis. So we might be able to get good quality people, you know what I mean, because sometimes like the board of adjudication administration hires like part-time ALJs. I don't know what they get paid, but you get what I'm saying. We have $50,000 set aside just for that. And then so that's my goal, is to write the job description, put it out there on Indeed, and hopefully utilize them on a, you know what I mean, on a regular part-time basis to be investigating cases and have a spot available for them to do so.
Good.
Would it need to be an officer?
No.
An ex-officer?
No.
Oh, okay.
It could be whatever we decide for it to be. It could be a person who has, you know, not necessary police officer training, but investigations in other matters. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be police related. There was, the reason why we ended up hiring Virgil as our private investigator was because that was one of the questions before, was a request from a common counselor for us to, you know, how would they be able to understand Syracuse Police Department policies if they weren't? So we do have that, but then again, as you guys are not officers, you still are provided with police department policies. And I still have to provide Virgil with certain copies of policies when, you know, when necessary. So I don't believe that they had to be an ex-Syracuse Police Department officer, but I understand where, you know what I mean? Prior, you know, we could put something in there like prior, you know, law enforcement experience is preferred or something of that nature, you know, just to open it up. But we also want to make sure that we get somebody who understands the CRB's mission and, you know what I mean, and can be able to maneuver it in that way. We had another person who was a private investigator as well, who was an ex law enforcement officer in Florida too. He was doing some investigations before. Those are really good too. I just don't want us to put ourselves in a box, but as long as they have some sort of, you know, skills like that, but that's what we're gonna be looking for. And since that will not start until July 1. So we'll be putting the fillers out there and, getting the job description done and those.
Can you tell me, we're gonna go back about 5 minutes, what does ALJ stand for?
Administrative Law Judge.
Thank you.
Yep. And so that's the plan, to get that done so that then when we, again, we really don't have the space to have them until we have the new office space. We don't really even have space for everybody now.
I have a question. Considering that you're looking into hiring this investigator, have you, at this point, encountered any situation where you have had some interpretation issues between the individual and either yourself or anybody else that was looking into a matter?
Oh, I could tell when somebody didn't investigate a case.
No, I'm saying as far as language interpretation, like if
No, because we have the ability to use language line. And I have a card that we can use. So I was out at a particular investigation one time and the person only spoke Spanish. So I use language line to have that person ask the questions. You know what I mean? So we don't run into that because we have that capability.
And the investigator will have that same
Yes,
capability.
the investigator
Okay.
will have that same capability. I actually carry it on my badge where there's a particular code. We have a little sign up in the office too, in which we have the ability to utilize that. So language usually is not an issue. I am always concerned about cultural beliefs though. You know what I mean? And making sure that we take those into consideration when we're out investigating and doing things of that nature so that we don't impose those kind of things.
Got you. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. And then we asked for almost $30,000 for software. But that was denied and they gave us $15,000. So I do have a breakdown of several different programs that were less than the one that we were looking for. And we'll still be, researching and seeing what we can find. I think that's a bit of the gist of the budget thing.
Well, and hopefully next year we can expand even further.
Every year, we take.
Working on it right now.
I know you are.
Every year, and then there are legislative asks that are usually prepared for by the end of the year. So we can think about those things and the same things that we bring to the council and ask, we can put them together and submit them so that they can be legislative asks as well and see if we can still do it that way. So everything that you're doing right now in terms of that, we can turn that into that as well and see if we can do some legislative asks. Because part of my job description too is to find us more funding outside of the city's funding. It's just kind of difficult to do that and do everything at the same time. So, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
administrator's report.
All right, so far in 2023, we have 22 cases that have come in. In the month of May, we had, one new case in April, and we had we opened 4 new cases as in the month of May. So April we had 1 to come in May we had 4, making our total 22 cases total. People have been using the online portal as it relates to being able to file complaints with us. So that has been helpful, and I want to put another plug in that you can file your complaints online on the CRB's website. We do receive sometimes some complaints in the online portal that are not quite actionable, but nonetheless, we are receiving them. So I just want to point that out. So, so far we've received 2 this year from online. It hit like fire last year when it was first up, and we got more cases last year online. We had an executive session yesterday in which we reviewed 7 cases. 1 we are holding until we are able to meet in the month of July, I would say, or at the latest August, but it should still be well within the 18 months, just because the matter was still undergoing some investigative stuff. What else? I was going to point out, there are, in my report, there are several things coming up in the month of June. I don't know if anybody has, Anthony has been doing a good job at going out to community engagement events, and he's still learning the position in order to engage the board as to see what you guys would be interested in doing, what we can develop ourselves. So just look out for an email from him coming forth as it relates to that. But he continues to do some things, and he'll talk about that later. You will see on the green paper the budget that we have currently. As you know, under the salaries line, we have a good amount of money that's still left, and that is because we have not had a legal secretary in the office. We had Michael as the legal secretary, but then he changed over to the data analysis, but we have not been able to hire, so that's why you see that expense. Temporary services line, that is where we have our community engagement fellow who is being paid out of that line. And while we are out of the office next week, and Mike Atkins will be in the office, he will be paid out of temporary services line. Mike covers the office every time we kind of are out of the office, has been doing it for years for us. In terms of, he sits at the office, answers the telephone, someone comes in, he gives them a complaint form, that kind of thing, you know, and then he holds all the complaint forms for us until we get back. And it's been working out for us for years.
Now, where are you gonna go again, the three of you?
We are going to the Zero Abuse Summit, and it's going to be in Orlando, Florida. And it starts on the 6th. There is a peer review session in which I'm going to be able to listen to investigations and get peer feedback as it relates to investigations and how they discuss these things. This particular workshop is kind of outside the norm of something we would normally go to, but it's because we know what we're dealing with in our community. And as we meet up with the youth in our community and we meet up with people, we need to be able to recognize the signs. I have been out on situations in the past that were not so good situations, in which had I had different kind of training than just training in police conduct and things of that nature, I would have been aware of some of the other red flags that you need to be aware of. And so this workshop, this training is going to give us some of those things. So it talks about...
So Michael and Anthony are gonna go with you?
Yes. So we will all be there in order to gain that information. Michael is going to use the information in terms of learning how to collect more data. And when he sees particular files, as it relates to that, how they pull data from different sectors and things of that nature. So we're trying to get a gamut of training in our office in order for us all to be well-rounded in terms of what we're looking for. One of the issues that we've had in the department is that we don't have enough manpower to touch cases more than one time, for real. Like, I mean, you know, when you get the case and the case gets open, you need to pull as much information out of it as you can from the onset, so that then when the case is closed, you are now able to update that information with the officer's information, the demographic information, the gender, the age, all of that kind of stuff, because all of that stuff is in our reporting stuff. That is also the Common Council districts. We know that the Common Council districts have now changed. That's part of the data set. Now when we look at the data that we've been receiving a lot about poverty and how that is overlapping, now we need to be looking at how that data overlaps with the number of complaints and where the complaints are driven, and see where we need to focus our community engagement on. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be pulled out of these files, and we need to have the right tools in order to do that.
In order to sync it together.
So that we can sync it together, because we still are using word sheets, spreadsheets, and all types of sheets to combine stuff together. And it takes a very long time currently to close out a file. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know to look for. So when Michael's going back, now that he is getting training in IA Pro and all of that stuff, and we're trying to really input the data into IA Pro, all of that information from those old files need to be in there. Also, IA Pro has the ability to drop body worn camera stuff in there and things of that nature. So it's gonna take a lot to be putting all of that stuff together, but then again, you have to put the right data sets in there. So you gotta know what you don't know to collect it. And so, all of that is extremely important and time consuming, which is the reason why we need to space, and we also need to have the proper technology in order to do that. We were in the police liaison committee meeting, and Richard and Lori will talk about that later, but there was a conversation about utilizing Microsoft Office 365 rather than Dropbox. So we have to be able to, in order to answer your questions, we have to make sure that we're trained on that and know how to utilize those functions. So we're getting a gamut worth of training in a variety of different sectors. Michael should be getting ready to take his class, his online class that you guys approved of. It's just finally going through the budget cycle and all of that kind of stuff, which will teach him again some more stuff as it relates to data. But I said that to let you know that everything that we use is for, everything that we're doing is for a reason, and it's all connected. It just is how we put it in there and we understand enough of what's going on to put the right stuff in there. So we're not having to duplicate efforts in order to close things out. So, because in the IA Pro, you have to link the officer, you have to link the allegation, and then at the end of the case, we may have a case, as you know, that has 5 allegations from the beginning. But by the time you guys go through the process, you may only sustain one of the allegations. So then we have to be able to make sure that all of that is back updated, so that then in the final presentation of data, it's only going to show what's sustained and what was, you know what I mean, unsubstantiated. And one of the things that I talked to Chief Cecil about was him wanting to make sure that we were going to keep in the information about cases that were sustained, unsubstantiated, unfounded, and all of that kind of stuff. They like to see that data, but we have to be able to pull that and make sure all of our records are accurate. So with pulling in the 5 different sheets that we're using currently, we're going to get there.
I have a question. The money that is listed as available budget, does that include or not include the training that you're going to next week?
So in the encumbrance, so the available budget, if you look at the travel cost, you see that there's the expenses right there. And then we still had money from that $5,000
Right.
grant, so we used some of that money to cover travel. So yes, what you see as available until all the invoices come through, that should be correct.
My only concern is, having worked for government for a long, long time, being afraid to lose what we don't use
Absolutely, we've
So-
been trying to.
I was gonna say the same thing.
would hopefully encumber that I mean, if
That's
it
why
looks like there's going to be additional money left towards the end of the month, since the budget starts July 1st, maybe we can encumber some of that money for board training or some.
And so that's, hence,
Okay.
that's what I was going to say. So what we're doing currently is typically we pay for the membership for NACO. We typically pay for that out of next year's budget. This year, we're paying for it out of this year's budget.
Okay.
Because it's due July 1.
Gotcha.
So typically, we're always technically late. And based upon NACO's rules, you have to have paid your membership at least 2 months in advance. And this time, instead of having the training, the conference in September, it is now going to be in November. And so we have more time. But what I was going to ask was if there were board members that were considering going to any of the upcoming trainings. That's the reason why we've been signing up all the board members for all the trainings that come up for NACO. We have another training coming up on June the 7th
Great.
at 1:00 p.m. It's understanding force used in effectuating an arrest. And so I've heard from 2 board members saying they want to attend and only 1 board member saying they're not available. We're trying to use this money. So, it's usually $20 a person. So at least we're spending down money.
And they're usually only an hour.
And they're only an hour, typically.
And
so-
if you're registered, you can see it later. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's important to know, that if you're not available from 1 to 2, you could sign up for it and watch it when you are available.
Does that go the same for the one that
Yes.
you recently had?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So they'll send you a recording of it and you'll be able to,
So I think that's where I messed up at, cause you actually called me and asked me did I want to, but then when I got the email from NACO and then it said register, was I supposed to?
nope.
Oh, she does
So
it.
Okay.
so what happens is, once you have been registered for a NACO training, they will now send you emails about
Right.
other trainings, because
Okay.
now we are
Now they have
an
your email address.
organizational membership. So that means everybody in the organization is now a member, so all of your emails will get them. So now whenever NACO has a training, you'll get something. But if you send it to me and say, hey, I wanna go to this training, I'm gonna pay, the city's gonna pay for it and they're gonna register you for the training. So that's why you probably got this new one asking if you wanted to register, and all you have to do is say, yes, I wanna register. And then, you know what I mean, I'm gonna register you. But like Lori said, even if you don't make it, you can review it later. And
So am I supposed to click on?
no, you're just supposed to tell me that,
Tell you.
yes.
Well,
And then,
okay.
and I will register you, because we pay for it all at the same time. So I use the city credit card that we have for our department. I pay for everybody's training all at one time. So it's just one huge bill.
So did I miss what it is you registered me for?
Probably. So you probably missed the last training that I registered you for, but you should have received an email.
I don't think they've sent it out
They,
yet.
they usually send it about 30 days after that training.
I haven't gotten
and
it
you
yet.
should be able to, receive it. But there's a training on June 7th at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
and it's understanding force used in effectuating an arrest. I would like to register everybody for that training, and then you can, if you're available to watch it at the time, then watch it at the time. If not, you get the recording. Okay.
Got it.
The last one was May 18th, so it probably hasn't gone out yet.
Yes. So that is everybody?
Yes.
Everybody. Okay. All right.
Renee, can you do
Sometimes
me a
it's better
favor?
than others.
Or somebody, is there any way you can just send me a reminder?
Yep, so when I register you, you will get a email. And then what we will set a calendar thing to do is remind everybody the day before of the training. Because I know sometimes when we send invites, because when you click on, once it shows you're registered, it asks, do you want to put it on your calendar? And you can say,
Right.
add to your calendar, and then you just have it on your calendar and you can click the link. But you're asking for us to then remind you before the training that you have the training, right?
Yes, because
Okay.
when I see something from NACO, I delete it, cause I don't know who NACO is.
Okay,
Well, I don't remember, I put it like that.
okay,
Along with
so,
all the other emails that I get from DSW and, you know.
okay.
So, yeah, just remind me.
So we will register everybody for this upcoming training. And it says it's understanding the types of force officers are taught to apply when effectuating arrest is critical skill for oversight investigators, boards, and commission members, and anyone who reviews police reports or video footage of use of force incidents. Using slides and video, he will demonstrate the correct and incorrect way to apply restraint holds and takedowns, deliver body strikes, apply handcuffs, among other types of force. This is and then it says he has held primary assignments, in this officer, who is Captain Fomboy, of the Idaho Police Department, has held primary assignments in patrol, narcotics, and crime prevention. He has been assigned to SWAT for 18 years, entry team member, a tactical commander, and so on and so forth. So that's who is going to be teaching it.
Do you
Okay?
already do this?
Not this training. So we have received, so training that we receive from SPD is an additional to training that we still want to see from other people. As it relates to how other people interpret how you're supposed to apply force. If we don't look at SPD's training and then other people's training, then how do we know to make recommendations on how SPD is being trained and how they're utilizing force if we don't look at both factors? But it's hard to make a recommendation on SPD's training if you've never seen it. You mean, you can based upon what you see from other departments, but then they would argue that it's not the same training. So how can you, so.
Can we redirect unused budget money?
No, it goes back into the general fund.
It seems like other departments go before the, I'm probably missing the technicality. It seems like other departments, like the Parks Department comes, oh, you know, we have $100 for this, but then we're asking, we're coming before the Common Council and we want to ask.
From my understanding, we don't know how to do that yet. I'm just gonna be quite honest. I have never been able to go back to the council and say, I have never been able to go back to the council and say, hey, we didn't use X amount. Well, first off, we never had extra money.
Oh, no, I think Richard's saying if it's designated for training and you wanna spend it on this.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't, if you haven't used it by June 30th.
But it has to be before the June 30th deadline.
But we've done that. I mean, that's how we've paid for some, a lot of things we've paid for this year with salary, because we,
Yeah, we allocated the
And
funds
we've
into
moved it over.
different ways, and we've just done budget transfers from one line to the next line.
Like
But-
making a.
So we need to-
down payment on,
we need to look
you know,
really
our
hard this
computer
month to see
system.
what we've got left over
Yeah.
and do something with it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's buying more stuff for Anthony to
So,
use.
so we've been doing that.
Okay,
So we have a.
never give a penny back.
We're trying.
Yes, counsel,
But
I said that
it's
out loud.
just- It's really hard from that, salary line. I just don't.
Oh, right, yeah, the salary line isn't gonna
Yeah,
change though.
I just really
so-
don't know how to use that, but we are, trying to do, as you can see, with our rent and professional contract services, what the budget was, and we've been steady, trying to spend it. I mean, usually that's the line that we give back in. It's never usually the salary line. It's never usually that we have this amount for temporary services, but we pulled from the salary line in order to fund the community engagement fellow. So we've been very creative as much as we can to move around funds. As I mentioned in the police liaison committee meeting, we have to, in this move, the file cabinets, we have five file cabinets that need to be moved over, and we have to unload all 5 cabinets. It has 3 drawers, and we have to unload the first 2 drawers. And so they have ordered 60 boxes for us. And I had to order security tape, tamper evident tape. So 72 rolls of tamper evident tape cost us $1,300 and something dollars. So it was $17.12 a roll. So to get 26 or something, I can't remember how many rolls, but then it was $644 for just that stack. So I bought 2 stacks. So you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make sure that even when the move, because half the stuff that we have over there is not leaving. We have to buy 2 new lateral file cabinets. Not lateral. Standing file cabinets for supplies. We have to buy 2 new ones because the ones that we have are broken. So there is a space downstairs and over there where you can put your supplies. So we will be purchasing those and having that money allocated so that we can buy those cabinets when we get ready to move.
So we can purchase them and then just defer delivery until after
They
July.
said we can have them delivered over there.
Oh, okay.
And then they just, hopefully, they they
Don't
stay
lose
over
them,
there.
right.
That kind of stuff. So we're trying to do as much as we can to not
Maybe we
give
could
money
put
back.
some of the evidence tape on them,
Yeah.
and then that will.
Yeah. So, we,
Might as well use it.
but I'm saying that to say, we might need some assistance. packing up the entire office, for it to be utilized, ready to move over there.
They got people you can hire for that. You got extra money.
Really, that's not a bad idea.
Now, don't you
Yeah,
have a
so
couple of friends you can
let's,
bring down
you know
for
what I
pizza?
mean?
For the right price, I'll come do it.
Is that part of the
So let's, you know what I mean, let's figure out, but yeah, we have, you know, we have 30 years worth of stuff in that office, like, you know, and everything's not coming.
There's a lot of stuff
So
in
you
that.
looking for, you looking from assistance from whoever, or you gonna hire somebody to assist in packing and moving?
I would have to figure out ASAP how we get contracts for moving companies, because the city has already hired moving companies.
Okay.
The problem is that,
Bless you.
bless you, I was about to say thank you. I felt like I sneezed. We would have to see, because of the confidential nature of our stuff, that is what would be of concern, as to having just anybody come in and move the stuff, and that's why we have to have tamper evident tape.
So that's what Lori was saying. Can't we just use some of that security tape to tape up the
We
stuff?
are, but we still have to get them into boxes.
So the person, the
Gotcha.
problem is the person might read it on the way into the box.
Okay.
But I got a 19-year-old on his way, or a 17-year-old on his way to college.
All right, so
A
let me,
25-year-old will do it.
yeah, let me talk to our budget person. Let me talk to our budget person and see what we can do.
I'm sure they'll do it with
as a
blinders
part-
on if we
as-
need to.
As a part-time situation in terms of, because the earlier we start moving, getting the boxes together, the better for us. Let's just really be honest.
Does that include the box? Does the box have to be put together also?
I'm thinking too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be those banker boxes that they give you, that I can't put that thing together. My college degree, my granddad says sometimes that those college degrees hinder you, because you can't do the common sense stuff.
No practical.
No comment.
So me and the banker boxes don't work well together. I can't figure out how to,
It's an acquired skill.
so,
Pizza boxes too.
so, because this money doesn't include, like, we haven't ever had to pay interns or anything of that nature, so, we can figure out, you know, what we might possibly be able to do. I'll ask the questions and see where we go from there, but.
There you go.
But that's comp time, that's comp time. It's not any, you get what I mean? It's not
We're
gonna.
trying to
get-
spend money,
It's
Michael.
not gonna spend money.
Why he can't get overtime
He said he doesn't pay overtime. You get comp time.
sometimes?
Said he doesn't pay overtime to other people.
Oh.
Gotta have the right union.
I don't got a lot of overtime in my life.
All right, I
Okay.
think that's it.
All right, Anthony and Michael, Community Outreach and Public Education, any reports? Uh-oh.
So the things that you've done already in May and April, and then add those to it.
Okay. So recently I have done the community folk art tabling event that was at across the street from the Peace Center on Martin Luther King Boulevard. I've recently been to the Boys and Girls Club over on Shawner Street to do some presentations to them on, you know, police policy and procedure and knowing their rights and dealing with the police. We also have a series of events coming up between Juneteenth, the raising of the flag is actually tomorrow. If you can wear orange in solidarity of gun violence.
What time is that tomorrow?
That is going to be at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And where is it at?
It's tomorrow outside, the steps of City Hall.
Oh,
And then we also have empowering neighborhoods with community walks. A lot of these are actually starting tomorrow as well. The first one is going to be at from Tucker to Pioneer Homes, starting at 3 o'clock. And I'll give you guys more information via email. And I do want to apologize for the lack of communication. I've been dropping the ball a little bit lately just because it's been a little frantic. And I've been a little busy myself with the outreach, so I will be better at that.
He's getting outreach done, he just isn't asking y'all to go. So let's just put it that way. Let's make sure we clear that up.
I have no doubt about
He's
that.
doing it himself. He's
Believe
just
me.
not asking you to
No
attend.
doubt about
So,
Appreciate that.
And I kind of forget that. I'm so used to just go ahead and getting it done.
yourself.
I forget to ask for the help or for the support. And then we have the Snug basketball tournament coming up June 18th and June 20th. 100 Black Men Gun Violence Town Hall. So again, I'll give all of this information to you via email, and if you guys can make it, it'd be greatly appreciated.
tell them about the PAL events that you just recently went to.
Oh, yes, and I've recently connected with Jimmy Oliver with the Police Athletic League. We go down to Fowler High School, and we're playing touch football with the kids. They also have T-ball on Fridays at 5 o'clock. I haven't been able to make that one yet, but I do plan to do so once we come back from our training in Orlando.
I just had to say thank you for all the outreach you've been doing lately. Definitely means a lot. Don't hesitate to call me if you definitely need somebody to tag along. But also if we could get like a group, or if you could engage a group text message, so that way like when there's any communication that might be missed in an email, you could also refer to that group message as well. I would prefer that, just personally. I don't know if anybody else feels the
So
same way.
if you prefer a certain method of communication, like for real, let us know that text is better than email or something of that nature, or text is not your friend. Let us know that, because when we don't hear from you, we don't know what to think. We don't know if you like got it and you know, oh, I'll get back to it and you forgot, because sometimes we get busy planning and getting ready for stuff that we forget to send another message like, hey, don't forget, we've got this next tomorrow. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. We forget that because we're just doing the day-to-day work and getting it done. But if that's something that we need to do and that would help us get you there, then that's something that we can, you know what I mean, set on the calendar 2 days before an event, send a, email, send a text message to the board and remind them of the event. But we usually are so, getting the day-to-day stuff done.
For the record, I'm good on the text. My man, hook him up. I'm all set.
I think the more ways to communicate, the better, so email and text is fine, and if you want to put it on the Facebook page, go ahead, do that too,
So, we have been utilizing funds when Anthony goes to events. We have been buying snacks to give out to the kids. We do have a order in for outreach materials. You want to talk about that?
Yes, we got some more goodies to give away. We got the little lip balms, the soap dispensers. I think I showed you guys before, and some what are they? The stickies that you put on the back of your phone that you can put your phone wallets.
Okay.
Yes, card holders. So, yes.
have you considered at all, because when I went to the one you was at the other week, a little bag.
We have those.
We have those.
We have those. We have the
I like 4 of them.
usable bags. we got the water bottles.
They were at the celebrations that week.
Yeah, we have
Oh.
shopping bags. We also have
Water
water
bottles.
bottles. We have a few water bottles because water bottles became a hit at the last event, so we might have to figure out how to order some more water bottles.
You know what, that's my fault.
He come out of
'cause I didn't
salaries,
come
right?
over to my table when I was at somebody else's table and they gave me a bag and it had all that stuff y'all just named in the bag. And I'm like, oh snap, we
Yes,
don't
yes.
have this.
Yep, so we have that.
What about little cute green T-shirt and stuff? You got some more of those?
Yep,
And
we-
match the Jordans and all of that. Like,
I can get my own, I can get my
So
shirt
wait,
like that.
I was just getting ready to say that the new T-shirts are in, and for those of you who have not received your T-shirts, we have your T-shirts available with the new logo on the front
Looking good, looking good.
from the
and
1990.
move all that hair.
You know what I mean? From that, we have all of those new T-shirts and stuff that we were able to buy, so that then when Anthony goes out, he does not have to look. You know, he can look how Anthony wants to look when he
Good.
goes out there. So we have,
That's
we
the
have the.
T-shirt you have by Jose?
Yes, this is one of the t-shirts. I want one of those on long sleeves.
Yeah, I want both, actually.
I want both too, but that one's nice.
So we have the hoodies, the black hoodies.
wardrobe.
We have some long sleeve shirts. We have the polos. We have regular T-shirts. So we have goodies.
Are you modeling a polo?
I am modeling an old polo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
so
old
this
one. I
this
got
is the
that.
old polo, but we now have new polos with that logo on there.
Okay.
So we changed it to show that we were established in 1993, so that people could see how long we had been here, opposed to using this one in commemoration of 30 years. So we wanted to try to switch it up a little bit. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to, you know, we buy supplies, snacks, we buy T-shirts, we buy water bottles, like
So where's all the snacks and the T-shirts located?
in Anthony's office.
Okay, gotcha.
You wasn't supposed to give him that information.
So, but at
Now we
least
know.
when we go to those events, we are not looking the way that we were looking before.
Yeah.
We are at least, you know, ordering at least 1,000, or you know what I mean, things of that nature. So when he goes out there, he has something to give away. And they all have CRB related stuff on there. We got away from the magnets and, you know, the stuff that was tedious office related stuff, and got somebody to do it for us. And it's a local printer out of Auburn. So you know what I mean, that is doing the chapstick, the soap dispenser, and the chapstick, soap dispenser, and the
Did you get the
fold
little,
wallet.
did you get the basketball thing that you had?
No,
Too
we never
expensive.
No,
placed
it
that.
was too. Yeah, it was too expensive. And then we considered sometimes our population won't have a place to stick the.
True, okay.
So we considered.
I just
that.
thought they were cute.
We did think they were cute as well. But those are the things that we've been trying to utilize the money for, so that when Anthony goes out, he feels like he's stacked with some
That's
some
good.
good stuff at the table. He will be at Let Me Be Great.
Yes,
So Let Me Be Great is Saturday?
Sunday.
Sunday. He will be at Let Me Be Great in Berry Park with all of this swag and stuff like that. So he'll be there at a table. Oh, we did purchase a new tablecloth. If our tent is
I saw that.
fabulous.
That is so nice.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
It is really nice, and it's
work,
big.
that work.
So we are looking like a regular old, you know, department.
What time is the thing at Berry Park, Anthony? After church?
It'll be from 12 to 3.
During church.
Yes.
Because the preacher don't even stop till like 3 Sunday.
And this Sunday is first Sunday, so. I make it.
I'm Unitarian. We take summer.
Oh, yeah. I got slots.
So yeah, so we will be at Berry Park with our new tablecloth. It's pretty nice. We'll be out here. We'll be out for Juneteenth. With that, Juneteenth events should be available. Don't forget Juneteenth
No.
parade.
Now, is Juneteenth on Juneteenth now, since it's a holiday, or is it on the weekend closest to Juneteenth,
It is.
as far as celebrations go?
We will be marching in the Juneteenth parade. I want to make sure that we.
The 19th is actually Juneteenth, and that's,
So it is the parade. The Miss June.
That is started on the 15th. It doesn't do that anymore.
I guess not, it says Juneteenth right on the 19th there. I thought it was the 15th.
So there's an event on Friday. So at Friday, the 16th at noon, there's going to be the flag raising. And then the festivities begin at 1 in Clinton Square. And then the celebration of faith is that afternoon at 4. The Miss Juneteenth pageant is showing up on here on Saturday, but I'm not seeing when the march is.
11 a.m. Dunbar Center.
On what day?
Saturday.
On the 17th? Oh, the Victory Parade. The Victory Parade starts at 11, from Dunbar to City Hall.
In regards to, I'll remember.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put all this, in a thing. So we usually meet at 10 o'clock in the morning to set up for Juneteenth. So please, we could have our car filled with all of your t-shirts and you change in the parking lot. I don't know or would you like to get your t-shirts before that?
I want mine before.
For Juneteenth?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed the conversation about Juneteenth.
Yeah, so Juneteenth, that Saturday, the 17th is the march. Flag raising is the 16th. We would love for people to have their t-shirts on for the flag raising. So if you can come see us the week of before, you know what I mean, the week of the 12th, 12th through the 15th to get your t-shirt. You can pull
So
up.
is next week the week that you all are not in?
Correct.
I'm glad you told me that because I was gonna come.
You
down.
can come in. You and Mike can have a good time.
Yeah, Mike's gonna be there. Somebody will be there.
I won't get done what I came to do.
Okay. That's between you and Mike.
I know.
Moving right along.
I ain't got no.
I'm hungry.
Funny
Can we keep?
conversation, so-
It's on YouTube.
Just one.
Right. So again, we want to try to get your t-shirts out to you, and so you can have them on for the flag raising. Because I don't think you want to wear the black sweatshirts.
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you want to wear that. So please, stop by the office. And Mike would be in the office next week, but I don't know if we want to have him passing out t-shirts. I don't know what you guys want to do.
No,
I
whatever.
would prefer you to wait till the following week
Yep.
to come in the office and get them.
Yeah.
And then if we need to order more, I need to let us know early. You know what I mean? Check the fit out, let us know so we can put in a new order.
So we're somebody's gonna send out an itinerary.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But I just want to put it out there so that you guys know that we be moving, we doing some stuff.
Extensive list.
So, all right.
Guys.
As you can see, Sue Katzoff is not here. They have elected to come to the August 3rd meeting. Her and Ryan will be at the August 3rd meeting, just so you know. And I'm done talking.
Talked a lot.
Okay.
So it's Lori's turn, right?
Well, and Richard, we were
Can
both
help
there.
you? Who's gonna help me with this? Renette, Lori, and I took part in the Nicole webinar on viewing video. I forget the woman's name, a professor.
Oh, I do have that, I think.
You have that information? That's her area of focus.
When was this?
This is a couple weeks ago.
May
Yeah,
18th.
May 18th. That's the one that I called
was
you
good.
about and we registered.
Professor Grano.
That one I had issues.
GRNT.
Yes.
And
Oh.
She's at Smith.
Well, he
The
only
week of-
shouted out y'all. Why I didn't get a shout out?
Please give him a shout out.
Hey, Mike check. Like,
His name is,
She was available, right? We were thinking of
Yeah.
getting her.
Yeah, we were thinking of figuring out whether or not she does training for other departments on, I forget what she said it was, but we were wondering if we needed to try to get her to come in for some training for us.
I think we should. I thought she was really
Yeah.
interesting, and
What did you think?
I didn't think I learned anything I didn't already know.
Okay.
Me, I mean, but,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
She
so-
has a
be
book
helpful
too.
to others
And
that,
I think if
The one thing I didn't know that I did learn was that blind jurors can be barred from blind people can be barred from jury service. I did
now there
not.
were a couple
I didn't know
tidbits in there that we
said
could
they can be.
apply,
They can be correct.
but
That's on that as well.
like people in the CRB going on ride-alongs and stuff like that.
Right.
That was big, but that wasn't. I mean, it's not jaw drop.
I'll put a plug out there. You guys are able to go on ride-alongs. Y'all just need to let me know when y'all want to go.
I
Daytime
thought I
nights.
said
that's
that.
what I was-
Anytime you want to go.
I've been
we
on a lot
are-
of police ride-alongs.
Cynthia has indicated
tell
that
you
she would
all
like to.
about-
Were they of your own
Yeah,
volition?
I'm just, we had to wait for COVID and for everything to be back okay, but if you want to do a police ride-along.
Do we get to
they-
pick the officers that we go with, or is
I
that going to
don't
be
think you
assigned
pick
by
the
someone
officers,
else?
Just the day, the
ones we
shift
know.
that you wanna go on.
Throw out a couple names for you though. Be really good rides.
I also thought that I have seen that gorilla video before, and I still didn't see the gorilla when I watched the video, so it's very interesting to.
Yeah, so, yeah, so I can't remember what they said training she does, but we were wondering if we should try to get her to come.
Yeah,
I would like that.
Well, I'm sure we could get her to gear it to us specifically. I mean, she was speaking to a very broad audience.
That'll
I
be
mean,
nice.
she does bias training.
What I did learn is though, every state and major city does it totally different.
Yes.
It really depends on who's at the top in that city, in the population of the city. So, you know, again, our city is a melting pot. You know, we're like Manhattan. You know what I mean? It's just everybody comes, different personalities, different ways of doing things, and different police officers from different areas. So,
Oh, she does procedural justice. That's what she does.
That's not,
That's
that's
the
good.
name of it. That's the name of it. Procedural justice. It made me think about it.
you're welcome.
Thank you. You saying it that way made me think about what it was, procedural justice, and that's something that we need to know.
But the ones in our city, I think, I mean, I understood what you said earlier,
Yeah.
but the ones in our city, I think we are more needed than other. you
Yeah,
know.
and that's why usually in our annual training, we focus on bringing in the people that we work with here.
Right.
And coming in and doing a full day training with us, as it relates to that, or us going over there and doing some training so that we can really see how, you know, how they're being trained, is it transpiring into the street?
Right.
If we were to see it, would we be able to tell that, oh yeah, that's that training that we saw, and that's how they applied it?
Right.
That's the reason why we go to the Citizens Academy, if we can, and things of that nature, is because we want to see it from that aspect, but we also got to glean on other departments in order to see what maybe we could be doing better.
I think the one lady, I think she was from Chicago, and she had chimed in, wait till all the other people speak. And when she said that no matter what city you're in, even though common sense isn't always common, you know, if you're getting your brains beat out, you don't need a training for that. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of things that we see, common sense matters. You know what I mean? You know, there's no common sense training, but we know what's right or wrong when we see it. I don't know if we need a training to know what's right or wrong. When we hear it, if you wouldn't want it to your own child, then, you know, you can apply those things too, you know what I mean? So, but training is always good. I mean, I went to school for it.
And so we're trying to do a variety of trainings. That's why we're trying to do the online ones, the ones in person, and things of that nature to kind of fit with people's, you know, we know everybody learns differently. Some people will learn by visual, some people learn by interaction. So we're trying to meet all of those areas in order to make sure we get everybody trained. When you mentioned that you had this training, they were like, oh, like, you could tell even in the police liaison committee meeting, they were like, oh snap, like, y'all did that?
We're actually doing something.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So we want to make sure that, you know, we promote the fact
Yeah,
that
accredited.
we try to make sure we get the proper training. Like, we don't just rely on me to tell you guys everything. We make sure you're able to get it yourselves.
And that became a thing in that police liaison meeting. Who was that, the SID guy? That became a thing, that we were paying attention, and it threw him off. It threw him off.
So, a blind juror, is that just New York State?
In New York State,
I don't think so.
that's what she was talking about.
Because there weren't any people from.
I mean, it was a nationwide training.
Yeah, I don't remember a New York. Do you remember a New York police chief or ex-officer in there? It was all like Chicago, LA.
I'm gonna tell y'all why I asked that question. Has anybody ever seen the movie runaway jury.
I was just gonna say that. That's exact, I was gonna say, yeah, no blind jurors, except in the movies, where that guy was the fourth.
Well, it says that they can be. I mean, they don't, it's not that blind people can't serve on a jury. It's that blind people can, you know, when, depending on the case and what's in the case.
And I wanna say in the
They
classic 12
wanted
Angry Men.
to exclude him because he was blind, and the juror himself, gave them law that meant they could not exclude him from being a part of the jury.
Okay.
So that's why I asked you
Yeah.
that question. But,
I don't know.
Exactly, I was thinking,
Glad you know.
yeah,
that's a great movie.
I know you know.
very good movie.
I believe the instructors on that one was citing Supreme Court precedent that they can be excluded.
They can be.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, they
enough.
don't have to be.
But
They
they
can.
can be.
Yes.
It's not discriminatory if you don't want a juror based on a certain set of facts.
Yeah, like, so you can't just do it in voir dire and say like, hey, you know what I mean, because this
You're
person
blind,
is
you
blind,
can't.
you just, you know what I mean, you can't, but it's just,
I think it depends on what the kind of evidence is going to be.
Right, I mean, if there's a lot of visual evidence, then,
Okay.
but yeah, so we're getting some good training.
I did. I just
That's
found
the
it
point I want to say, we getting some good training around these parts.
And I'll sit next to him to get that smart stuff rubbed off.
Jose sat next to you.
Joe's the
The
lawyer.
lawyers, we need the lawyers.
He's the lawyer.
All right, so that was part of the police liaison committee meeting. Anyway, so it was Chief Cecil, two of the deputy chiefs, the accountability officer Rashid was there, the SID guy who was blown away by the fact that we take continuing education. So at the meeting, Renette gave a progress report on the numbers of cases we're doing. Talked about how we're moving to a new office. We talked about the tape to seal the boxes. We discussed the body-worn camera usage, and then Chief Cecil revealed that they're getting $1.4 million, or it's been
And we're gonna
authorized.
spend
We're
$1.4
gonna
million.
spend- Okay, they're gonna spend $1.4 million to get new body-worn camera for all the officers.
Because they're moving from the 8-hour shifts to the 10-hour shifts.
And the battery life-
The battery life
battery
is
life
gonna
is
be
better.
low, so now they're gonna have battery life, that's gonna be 16 hours of battery life, so it should cover that. But we did learn that sometimes your body worn camera can be on the docking station for 2 weeks, and then you put it on and it's only at 50%. So,
Yeah, they were, so we were stressing the proper usage and turning it on, and he was talking about how, you know, the equipment's bad and battery life, so where can we expect to have it work when it's anyway.
so,
Crazy.
We just want them to turn it
$1.4 million.
on. You know, if the battery dies, the battery dies, but.
yes.
Yeah.
They won't come into this fall, though.
Well, the other part of that, Harry, is that, you know, we've had issues where people that are doing overtime that don't normally wear a uniform, they have ordered enough so that every officer has one, whether they're in uniform or not.
We're gonna have a
So
case
that they have to, so if they're doing overtime somewhere and they put on a uniform, they will then put on
They have
have their own body worn camera.
camera for them, so that when they decide to take that extra shift, there's a body worn camera assigned to them, so they
Or
can.
when they've been disciplined and get desk duty and pick up overtime down.
Right, same thing, yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, you're back in the fold and
Right.
you're abusing somebody else, and you ain't got no camera because.
Come on, you only have to do desk duty on your shift.
But I ain't talking about no officer, and I don't want no problems.
Just a general kind of statement.
General conversation.
It just happens all the time.
So all the sworn officers, they've ordered cameras for.
Yes, for the $1.4 million. That will come in the fall, and they will have 16-hour battery life.
So did they say anything about if you out there as a citizen, should you have your camera with you at all times? Your BWC, just in case you now decide to do a citizen's arrest?
Yeah, I don't know if
We
we
didn't
want to
talk- we
do
didn't
any,
go
yeah, we didn't talk about any of that, because I do not recommend any CRB.
Don't citizen arrest me.
Please, I do not recommend any CRB people to make any citizen's arrests.
No, I'm certainly not wearing a camera.
About to do that?
I'm hoping not,
no.
but I'm just saying,
No.
I'm not recommending that anybody that is a member of the CRB.
I didn't mean the CRB, I meant an off-duty police officer.
Oh,
Not-
yeah.
Because I'm the police officer on my block.
Okay.
What block is that? Mic check. What block?
Denema. Denema.
Okay.
Okay, there's also, conversation about the policy about frisk versus search.
Yes, so that's why we were able to talk about the difference between a frisk and a search at the time of the meeting yesterday, because we were having that conversation.
We have the case.
There has been, Lori referenced the
I was,
policies.
yeah, I was a little concerned because when you read the policy on searches, it definitely says that, you know, whenever possible, you're gonna have a woman search a woman and a man search a man. But it also has exceptions for, you know, if you think there might be a weapon, or you think that the person is hiding contraband, you know, things like that. And my thing when I first read it was there can always be an excuse to not do it. And so that's why I brought it up. And so that's how we got into the discussion about frisk versus search. And those cases are all for searching.
Not frisk.
Frisking is just a pat down, you know, so they made that perfectly clear.
And a search shouldn't be so a search should occur after a frisk
Correct.
has occurred, which is outside of the body. And if you're doing any sort of other kind of search that is other than, okay, I frisked you and I feel something in your pocket, then that's when it becomes a search into your pocket.
So in the conversation that you had, not to get on a tangent, is the policy to call for a female officer to
Yes.
do the?
Yes.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay.
It is for a female officer to then do the search, but it's
But
not
not
the
the
frisk.
frisk.
Oh, not the frisk.
No.
Correct.
So you
Because
can
the
arrest
frisk
her
is outside,
for that, and
is outside clothing.
holy moly.
So the frisk is outside the body and it is the pat down.
And part of their response was the lack of female officers. You know, they kind of
That's all I see on the south
I
side.
know, they kind of lay it off a little bit.
That's what, female officer?
Yeah.
Female officers.
All day.
My example was,
Pat you down, don't
right,
you?
Go for a ride with?
my example to them was
Like, sir,
that
me?
if you read the policy, it would be anyone who would be like me if I was arrested and absolutely terrified and I would just stand there compliant. That would be the only time that they would need to call a woman. If you read the policy the way I read the policy. So that's why we brought it up. And yeah, no, it is their policy in a search to do
But not
that,
a frisk.
not a
The
frisk.
frisk. So they are.
Because you really, if you're looking for a weapon, you really don't have time for someone to come from another location necessarily before you put that person in your car. And
Or the
that,
person can sit there until the officer gets there. Because if I'm gonna frisk you, hypothetically, a pat down, that would be the same sexual advance that you don't want it for would still occur. That's why you don't. That's why you want a female officer and a female officer, and not a male searching a female officer. Because if I'm patting her down, then that's the whole purpose of having a female do as female. That defeats the purpose.
We
I think the
understand.
issue is the urgency of the weapon, someone having a weapon. You can't wait for 5-10 minutes for the other officer to show up.
Or you sit there and you guard them with your hand on your weapon like they do anyway, and until the officer gets there. If they reach for a weapon, you draw out and you do what you got to do. Like there's ways around it. Like I don't.
There's ways around everything.
Yeah, I don't. That's if that was my daughter, which it would never in life be. But if it was, I'd have a serious problem with that.
We had the
do a CRB
discussion,
complaint.
so what we do is we continue to point out the fact that these are the concerns in the community every time we have a police liaison committee and we look at the policy and how the policy can be interpreted. And we look to let them understand why the community, you know what I mean, has these perspectives as to what they see. One, not everybody knows the difference between a frisk and a search. So to them, it's the male officer touched the female officer. I thought you're supposed to, you know, if I request one, then they're supposed to do the frisk too, along with the search, you know, that kind of stuff. And so what our job to do is to continue to point out how those kind of things are what continues to be that line between the department and the community is understanding the terms
And,
how
and
things are
additionally, we ended up, getting into a side discussion on that about how things are changing. And, at some point, transgender issues need to come into the policy. And so there's a whole bunch of things that are all going to play into how each policy is interpreted as
Nothing's
things
black and
change.
white no more. Everything is.
It really can't be. I mean,
Wow.
you don't necessarily know that someone is transgender, and,
To identify that.
and
I think that's where the question comes in, that someone has to say, I
Yes.
I need this officer of this gender.
Is that like an educational issue we can campaign on? Not
That's-
this
I,
year, but like.
I
the
think
following
so,
year?
and I think that, we need to let people know. I mean, we talked about it in one of our cases. If you are being questioned by the police and you don't give them any information about your name, age, where you live, et cetera, that's not gonna bode well for you. It's the same thing. If you're transgender, you need to, and you want people to treat you that way, then you need to speak up when those situations occur. It's, part of Anthony's, this is what you do when you're stopped by the police. I mean, I think we need to look at some of the things that we tell people now and make some additions to them based on things that we've learned over the course of time.
But I always like to reiterate, the CRB can provide you with training, and we can tell you if you do X, Y, Z from the same way we tell you to do it, does not mean it's always gonna end up the same way that you expect it to be.
Oh, correct.
So I always like to make sure I put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah.
That we can do this training, and we can tell you, what to do when you're interacting with the police, but every interaction is different because you get a different person, you get a different police officer, the times are different in which you are interacting, so we can give you these tools, but we can't say that this is exactly how this is gonna go. Nobody can.
Right, but the
It's- yes,
the more we
absolutely.
learn, the more we share,
Right, and I just like to make sure we put that out there, because people will say, well, I did exactly what you told me
What
to do.
CRB
And
said.
what CRB said, and, I have.
Well,
to
that's
put
why we
that
have a
out
complaint
Josh
form.
steered me wrong.
Right.
Blame the
Yep.
guy with the gold chain.
Guy told me.
They seen you through Facebook too.
Right.
They seen it on Facebook like, hey.
Yep, so, another last point, we do know that we are, short a 4th district common council member. We know that technically it says that if the council does not appoint somebody within 30 days, we can, find a replacement for that person and suggest it to the council. Several people that the current counselor, Allen, has proposed before, once they found out the time commitment, it was not feasible for them. But we need to get a 4th district person in this seat, because it's messing up our rotation as it relates to hearings, it's messing up rotations as it relates to a lot of things. So I'm just encouraging everybody to think about, although we would like them to live in the 4th Common Council District, and be representative, we do know that we have previously had somebody in that position who did not live in the 4th Common Council District. We just need somebody that is well-rounded and available.
Interesting.
And a Syracuse city
And
resident.
a Syracuse City resident. So you heard it here first. We have an opening and we're looking for somebody. So please, ma'am, please, sir, send us a resume to crb@syr.gov. All right. Anybody got anything else?
Good?
All right.
Okay,
You need a motion.
need a motion.
Cynthia,
I motion.
good job.
Need a second.
All the motions.
Second.
First, second, third, fourth. She got it covered.
Already had it.
Aye.
She's in a hurry to go. She was in a hurry to start.
Good meeting, folks.